If your studio is busy and you're exhausted but still broke, lowering prices to bring more clients in will not make things any better. It will make things worse. I've done that. It nearly killed my studio. I'm going to go through what we did to increase our average spend and to make life a lot easier and make my clients a lot happier. My name is Mark Bailey. Welcome to my channel. I've got a studio that I've had for over 15 years. If you find this useful, please give me a quick like and subscribe. It'll massively help. So we've been there. We've had busy studios and we've looked at the books, and at the end of each day, we're bringing money in, but the margins were healthy, but the running costs were too high. I had a big team as well, and I've got other videos going on about that and why that wasn't the right way for us to go, and in all honesty, probably not the right way for you to go. We used to have different packages, different options, and ultimately, because we own the studio, we can make the prices up as we go along. Now, you don't want to do that, but it's a very easy trap to get into, and I've seen tons of other photography studios who've had a very good average spend, quite nice and high, but then they start to struggle. More and more people say no, 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 and you've only got to hear no enough times for your mentality to then change, and all of a sudden you start believing what your clients are saying. Now, not every client is the perfect client, and that's not what we're trying to bring in. One analogy I always use is you don't see the likes of car sales, you don't see Mercedes or BMW lowering their prices because somebody's come in going, that Ford Fiesta down the road is a lot cheaper than what this BMW M4 series is. My take from that is, if I worked in BMW and I went to my boss saying, look, they're selling cars cheaper down the road, I would get told, go work down the road then, because this is the price of what this car costs. And that's the exact same for yourself as well. So first kind of advice I'd give you is, forget what everybody else is charging. You're never going to be the cheapest. Even if you lower your prices to the cheapest right now, somebody else could start up tomorrow who doesn't have the same running costs as what you've got, or the same commitments, and so they can undercut you. Once you get into a price war, you are then on a race to the bottom. So first of all, set your prices. My next advice is, you're probably too cheap. Put your prices up. You've got to have a good level of work, but you've got to remember who your target market is. It's the general public. Now, your benchmark isn't to be the #1 top photographer. That might be a personal goal that you want to be, which is fantastic. Keep that separate from your photography business, especially if you're a high street studio or if you're working from your home or anything like that. If it's the general public, as harsh as this may sound, you're competing with their pictures. If they're going to spend money with you, for them, they need to see pictures that are better than what they could take. And with your expertise, that shouldn't be too hard to do. One of the things that is really hard though is to take the perfectionist out of it. So first of all, take that away, look at your product, look at what your running costs are and what you need comfortably to survive, and not even survive, but to live the life you want to live. Once you've got that number, you can then split that in between how many sessions it is that you want to do per week. That then will give you the average that you need from each of your clients, and that's what you're aiming for or above. So we're going to use £500 as an average at the moment. So let's say we want to bring in £10,000 per month. If I do 10,000 divided by £500 average, all of a sudden I know straight away I only need 20 clients per month. Now that might sound like an awful lot, but if I split that up over 4 weeks, right, well now I only need 5 clients per week. That's 1 per day. That's if it's a £500 average. If you've got a £1,000 average, you only need 10 clients. All of a sudden now I need 2.5 clients per week. 2 one week, 3 the next. So once you know what the average is that you need to be earning, you can then start setting your prices and your packages. Now, we've had issues in our studio where we've had a team working for us, and back then we did have our price list, we did have our packages, but my salespeople were allowed to do offers with clients if it was going to help us get the sale. Now, this was because we were not a case of struggling for money, but there wasn't much left at the end of the day, and we were always trying to salvage every single sale. One thing we learned is that those clients that you give the discounts to, they're the ones who complain the most. Because for them, think about it, they come in and here's the price. Then they say no. So we go, what about this price? And they say no. And then we go, what about this price? And then we get the sale. Now, there was a time when I was on the receiving end of that, and this was a big changing point for me. I wanted my driveway block paving. But I ever thought about doing this before. I'd never had experience with it. I didn't know what to expect. So I had a guy come out, a salesperson. He came to the drive, he measured up and stuff. He was there for about half an hour or so. Then came in to me and he went, right, we can do it. It's going to cost £17,000, way ahead of what I was thinking of spending. So I was like, mate, we're too far apart. There's no way I can do that. His instant response was, no, that's not what it should be. I can get this down for you. Boom, straight down to £11,000. £6,000 knocked off. In my mindset, I was like, wow. He didn't carry on the conversation when he said 17,000. That was the price he asked me at first. So straight away, because I do sales myself, I picked up, that was his first pitch. And all of a sudden, £6,000 was knocked off. So for me, I was like, listen, we're still too far apart, mate. There's no way I could do that. He said, well, no, let me see what else I can do. I can work around. At which point I was in a bit of disbelief that, wow, we've just gone from 17 to 11, and then he threw out 7,000. So straight away I was like, I genuinely said to him, I was like, listen, mate, I'm not being funny, but literally 60 seconds ago, you wanted an extra £10,000 off me. Because I said no twice, you've knocked 10 grand off. We're not going to do any business. I don't like the way you've done that. How many people would have said yes to one of those two other figures? So no, it's just a straightforward no, mate. He then turned around and said, well, wait a minute, because I might be able to do more. I said, listen, at this point, we're not going to do business. It's not the type of company I want to work with. To which, but to my amazement, he whipped out a card and said, these are the guys that our company uses. Give them a call. They'll probably do it for around about 3,000. I was gobsmacked. I didn't get the block payment done in the end, but it was such a useful experience for me. It left such a bad taste in my mouth. And at that point, when I went back to my studio, I made a very tough, scary decision. And I told my team, no more discounts. The price is the price. And what the packages cost. Now, my two salespeople instantly turned around and went, well, what are we supposed to do? Because we hardly sell these top packages. If we take that away, we're not going to get sales. And my response was very harsh, and I just went, you need to get better at your job. You need to learn how to do this. Now, I then went through and we developed a really good sales process. Now, that is a video in itself, and that's something that you guys want to see. Please drop me a comment, and I will put a video out there showing that, but it works so well. We went from selling one of our top packages at £1,500 maybe once a month to us then selling it maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and that was just by sticking to our guns. Our poor reviews that we used to get, which were always from people who got the discounts and because they were disgruntled. Oh my gosh, they offered it at this price, I said no, and then I got it at that price. They make it up as they go along. All of a sudden, we said this is the price and that's what we need to go for. And you need to do the same, stick to your guns. You will get better. Now, one of the other things as well is you need to try and deal with every objection before you get to that sales room, or we call it a design consultation room. Every objection that comes up in there isn't a lost sale. It isn't a lost opportunity, so long as you take something away from it. You can look at it going, that was a training exercise. My next client might throw out the same objection. So I'm going to bring that up in my own time, in my own way, in the shoot, or on the phone. I'm going to make sure that that doesn't stop my sale next time. And the idea should be that out of every design consultation, every sales viewing that you do, come out of it and write down any objection that came up, and then try and work that into your open in your shoot, or during the shoot, or during your close and at the end of the shoot. If you can do that, then the idea is, by the time they get to that design consultation with you and they're looking at their pictures, the only question should be, are you paying cash or paying card? Now, there's also other little things that you can do, so you need to get your systems in place. We have an automated system that works really well. It will send text messages, reminders, emails, frequently asked questions to the client, and it really nurtures the client to make sure that no little steps are missed and the client looks after and just raises that level of experience. And as you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, the experience is everything. So lowering your price is definitely not the way to go. What you want to do is spend your time and your effort and any sort of money on training and things like that to get better at the sales process. You want to do less work for more money. And if you work on these, and it is scary to do it because you don't just want to turn the tap off and all of a sudden, I can't do it. But if you start to set your boundaries and stick to them, don't change the rules, set your rules, stick to them, you will see much higher average sales. As soon as we did that, we saw a turnaround. Now the great thing with that as well is once your average goes up, you don't need as many clients now. You can still do the same number of clients and have more money, but you may, like myself, have a life expectation, a life goal, and you want to get that balance. So I don't want 1 million people through my studio at that average. I just want a few small select people coming into my studio with a real good average that pays the bills, pays me, and leaves money left over at the end of the month. That's the goal. Life is then easier. Once you've got that, it's less work. On top of that, if you do decide, like me, you want a fewer amount of clients through the door, but higher paying clients, you don't need as much money on marketing, so your running costs come down. If you don't have 100 clients every single month, you don't need a bigger team, so your wage bill comes down, so on. And that will bring the running cost down, which then means the number of clients you need isn't as many anymore because you haven't got to fund that extra marketing or the extra staff wages or anything like that. So it does feed itself. If you do want any tips or advice or anything like that, definitely give me a subscribe and a like. If you can also just drop a comment to say what type of video or what sort of things are you struggling with, and I'll tell you how we handle those issues, and hopefully you'll fix whatever that problem may be. Listen, I'm gonna leave you guys to it. Have a great day and thank you so much. Bye.